Good day, everyone. Matthew Levi here. Just wanted to pop on and share something because Spirit won't leave me alone unless I do. They want me to talk about trusting your intuition, listening to your intuition, and the things that can happen. So, like every day, Spirit talks to me and tells me what to do, and sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. And usually when I don't, I pay for it. So I've learned to listen more. And today I kind of missed a bit of an opportunity, but that's all right because I still know I had an effect, and the conversation that was had needed to happen. So like most days, about lunchtime, I start getting hungry. My body starts screaming at me, hey, you need to get some food in you. So I said, okay, where are we going? They said, go here and have this for lunch. I went, well, okay. So I go to one of my favorite places, and I don't get what I usually get when I go there. I got something different. I got the salad that I shared, and because that's what they were telling me. So anyway, well, when I pull in the parking lot, most of you guys that know me or have been close to me see that I carry this little pouch, this little leather pouch, my medicine bundle that has a variety of stones in it. It has some business cards in there as well as my hape. So anyway, as I was getting out of the truck, they said take the bag, and I just kind of ignored it because there's been several times over the past that they've told me to take the bag and I've not needed it. But this time I did because it contains business cards, and I missed an opportunity to give a business card, or actually several. But I did give out my number. But anyway, the experience was don't doubt your connections to people and listening to your intuition. Because as I'm sitting there, just about to eat my lunch, just had maybe 4 or 5 bites in, fire department pulls up, off duty, not running hot, not an emergency call, and 3 firefighters walk in to have some lunch, and they order their lunch, and I noticed them, you know, being on the job, retired from being on the job, so I noticed them, and one of them was somebody I knew, somebody that I worked with, a former firefighter that I worked with when I was on the job in Jinx. And so he didn't notice me because I was kind of sitting off in a corner by myself, but he placed his order. I noticed him. I clocked him when he walked in. I just kind of went, huh, okay, so this is why you told me to come here today, even though I had other ideas. So anyway, he turns around, and I'm kind of sitting behind a wall, and he sees my truck in the parking lot with my tag that says Johnson, and it's a personalized firefighter plate that says Johnson on it. And I see him kind of poke his head around this wall, but he doesn't see me, and I call his name. And I could see him his body kind of start turning around, so I call his name again, and he comes around the wall, and he's just shocked to see me. You know, he's like, I recognize that tag. I was wondering if that was you. So anyway, he sits down, and he's like, man, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? I haven't seen you since you left the job in 2014. And I said, well, psychic medium, a channel, a shamanic practitioner, you know, the whole thing, and he just kind of was taken aback, like, wait, what do you mean? I said, well, this is what I do, you know. I talk to spirit, I help guide others, I am a shamanic practitioner, I work with energy, plants, animals, talk to spirit, spirit talks to me, I channel spirit messages for people, and he's just kind of looking at me like, wow, how did you get from here where I'm at, being a firefighter on the job, to that? And so I tell him, I was like, when I left the job, when I lost my career to the back surgery and couldn't be a firefighter anymore, I had a pretty big identity crisis. I went through about 3 years of really deep depression and masking and anger, resentment, just the whole fucking gamut of emotions. But it was a lot of fucking depression. Contemplated suicide several times, pistol in my hand several times, but obviously I'm still here and didn't do it. And so as I'm telling this, I spent several years in a deep depression till one day I'm just sitting there miserable, going round and round and round, and I look at my dog and he's staring right at me, and I hear, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you this way? Why are you being this way? You've got so much to live for. You have so much potential and so much available to you. What are you doing? Why are you focusing so much on the past?" And of course, initially I thought I was crazy because most of the time the voices were just in here and not coming from another being or that I could visibly see. And a lot of that time for that 3 years, I thought I was crazy. I thought I may be schizophrenic. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, what was going on. So anyway, listened to my dog and took the advice that he gave me, which I know now was spirit speaking through them. But anyway, I got led to, down the trail, breadcrumbed. Go here, go here, go here, and the more you lean into it, the more you listen to your intuition, the more you'll discover and the more you'll learn. So essentially gave him the condensed version of the last 10 or 11 years in about 5 minutes. And he's just kind of shocked, kind of blown away, but he understood. He wasn't being judgmental or anything. And shared some of my experiences on the job at one of the stations that is haunted. It is. There's spirit there. There's entities there. There are souls that haven't crossed over around that property and in that building that I had interactions with when I was working there toward the tail end of my career, and was really being drove kind of nuts by it because I didn't understand it, because all of these gifts, these abilities that I use now, that I lean into now, I had suppressed from my childhood. And so going through that was difficult, and that couple of years until I started, challenging the fear, which is one of the things Fred, my dog, told me I needed to do. And then, of course, the whole host of spirit guides that are, for me, they're all for us, but the benevolent ones, continue to harp on that same message about challenging your fears and looking for the real danger in it, because being emotionally wounded, there's no true danger there. Real danger is threats to life and limb, like I teach. So anyway, just learning to lean into that intuition a little bit more and follow it. And so today I've been doing that like I've been doing for the last several years, and it led me to this experience, this reconnection with an old friend, an old coworker and colleague, somebody I respect, that's still on the job. And he's been doing it a while now. He's got about 23 years on the job now. And he's going through that time in his life too. So the things I was saying were resonating with him. The things about getting in touch with yourself, learning who you are, releasing the judgment, releasing your past, letting go of that, not carrying it with you, those sorts of things. Being connected with nature. He's a hunter and always has been, but he was telling me that as I've aged and matured, I've found that I don't really go out, it's not going out for the sport of it anymore. It's going out to decompress, to release and reconnect, and basically be filled up again. You know, I guess I was talking to him about, you know, the power of nature and how to get into that space where you can hear God, you can hear your soul talking to you. And it requires, you know, you to get out into open spaces, into natural spaces, away from other people, away from devices and electromagnetic frequencies as much as you can. And it requires you to just be still and to just be aware. And that was one of the things when I mentioned that, he said, yeah, that's really what it is for me. It is a return to a spiritual connection. And I think that is what causes a lot of suffering in people, is they've lost their connection to spirit. They've lost their connection to themselves. And because they're disconnected and separated from spirit and from themselves, there's no unity. There's no harmony. There's no balance. There's no peace. There's no fucking love. But when you're out and you're connected, you need to learn, you guys need to know and understand that you are not separate from anything. From anything. You're not separate from your fellow man. You're not separate from nature. You're not separate from God, from spirit, from the creator, from the source. As much as and as often as you may feel like you are, you're not. You're not. You are one little small piece of all that is. And if you really stop and look around you and think of what all that is really means, how can you feel disconnected? How can you feel separate? I understand looking at that and feeling small and maybe insignificant, because I felt that way too. But you're not. None of us are. None of us are. I don't want any of you to ever underestimate the effect that you have on this world just by being in it. Just by being in it. Because you are not separate from it. You are a part of it. You are united to it, tied to it, energetically, spiritually, biologically, emotionally. So if you're struggling and you feel all fucking alone, just remember that alone really means, at its core, all one. Meaning that you are part of the one, of all that is. You're not separate from anything. You're not separate from anything. And if you listen, and you trust your intuition, and you lean into that and follow it, it'll prove it to you. It'll show you. It'll show you. It'll show you connections you forgot you had. Like he's been on the job over here where I live, in this community where I live here in Broken Arrow, for 13 years now. And this is the first time since I lived over here, since 2007, since he's been on the job, that I've ran into him. All because I listened. I listened to my body. I listened to my intuition. I didn't listen when they said take a card. Take your cards, take your bag. But he still got my number. The missing the opportunity there was missing the opportunity